In Paris, France, Alexandre has been living with his fiancée Laurie for 5 years. When Laurie gifts him a pair of slippers for Valentine's Day and their intimate time together is not as exciting as it used to be, Alexandre finally comes to terms with the fact the passionate relationship has become nothing but a boring routine. Needing a break from Laurie, Alexandre decides to stay a few days in a beachfront cottage that belongs to his friends T and Maud. He arrives during a stormy night and is shocked to see a woman getting inside through the window and walking on her hands. This turns out to be Fanvan, Alexandre's friend's granddaughter. Alexandre heard about her in the past and finds it curious they were never introduced to each other, so Fanvan points out Maud has warned her that Alexandre is not exactly God's gift to women. Fanvan also explains she is studying to be a perfumer like Maud, and she does not mind the way Alexandre smells. Since there is only one guest room, Fanvan insists they should share the bed because they are not animals to sleep on the floor, and while Alexandre at first is uncomfortable with the idea, Fanvan changes his mind by accusing him of being scared of her. In the end, accepting to share the bed turns out to be a bad idea because Fanvan keeps bothering Alexandre instead of letting him sleep. Despite these annoyances, the next morning Alexandre cannot stop watching Fanvan from afar. Fanvan is aware their little plan last night did not exactly work out, so she offers a simple solution to avoid repeating that mistake. She takes Alexandre to an abandoned house that she calls her secret hideout, where they hang out together and enjoy each other's company. A few days pass and Alexandre remembers he is supposed to meet with Laurie and her parents, so he rushes back to Paris. When he enters his apartment, he is surprised to find a call girl waiting for him. It turns out to be Laurie in a costume, and Alexandre believes it to be a chance to reignite their relationship, but Laurie got tired of waiting and wants to leave for dinner as soon as possible. When they make it to her parents' house, Alexandre gets in a blue mood when he sees his in-laws stuck in a boring marriage and worries about this being his future too when Laurie's father insists he should take over the family's business, which happens to be a funeral home. Meanwhile, Laurie confesses to a friend that she likes Alexandre and wants to get together with him. Sometime later, when Alexandre returns to his friend's house, he admits to T that he likes Fanvan, but he is not sure he should go after her because he is tired of always falling into the same pattern. All his relationships were fun at first, but eventually the passion died out and they became a boring couple stuck in a routine. T points out that a one-night-only date would not be satisfying either, and Alexandre finally comes up with an idea: platonic love. He will court Fanvan and take her out on fancy dates, but he will never even kiss her or confess his love to her. That way he will enjoy the excitement found in unfulfilled desire and avoid the banal aspects of relationships, like dumb arguments over small things. By keeping it platonic, he is also technically not cheating on Laurie. For their first date, Alexandre buys Fanvan flowers and takes her to a fancy apartment to have dinner. They have a great time together and get to learn each other better, including little details like the fact Fanvan cannot pay rent. Later in the evening, Fanvan realizes Alexandre lied and this is not his family's apartment, so he confesses he wanted to give her the luxury she deserves. At that moment, the real owners arrive, and Fanvan is so touched by Alexandre's gesture that she helps him lie about having been a misunderstanding in rent before they run away. Afterward, Alexandre gets Fanvan in his car and blindfolds her, claiming he is taking her all the way to Vienna. In truth, he takes her to a television studio, where a special stage has been put up to make it look like Vienna in 1813. While wearing period costumes, Alexandre and Fanvan dance a waltz and play pretend they are under attack like in the most dramatic of soap operas. It is all fun and delightful until Alexandre proposes a toast to their friendship, disappointing and hurting Fanvan greatly. When the night is over, Alexandre offers to take Fanvan home, but she retaliates by asking him to drop her at Paul's, a sculptor friend of hers that is doing a clothless study of Fanvan. Later, when Alexandre returns to his apartment, he finds Laurie awake and waiting for him, already suspecting he is cheating on her. Alexandre is honest and admits he had been out with another woman but swears it is all strictly platonic. Their talk somehow becomes an argument about who they are inviting to their wedding, prompting Laurie to wonder what happened to them. Alexandre promises they are fine and it is just the age, then tries to distract her by getting frisky with her. The next day, a frustrated Fanvan tells Maud about what happened, making Maud realize she does not know about Laurie. When Maud explains Alexandre is engaged, Fanvan gets even angrier and promises to concentrate on her incoming exams in order to forget about him. However, Fanvan is weak to Alexandre's charms and continues to hang out with him, even if it frustrates her not to be able to convince him to come into her apartment at the end of every date. Meanwhile, Alexandre visits Fanvan's landlord to secretly help her with her rent and learns the apartment next to hers is empty. Eventually, Fanvan gets tired of this game and invites Alexandre to have a drink at a bar, where she admits she knows about Laurie and gives Alexandre an ultimatum. He must choose between Laurie or Fanvan. Alexandre insists he just wants to be friends, but Fanvan explains she can smell his hormones and they prove he is very attracted to her. Panicking at finding himself in a corner, Alexandre pretends he needs to go to the bathroom, but actually goes to the nearest pharmacy and purchases a sleeping powder that he pours into Fanvan's drink. Once Fanvan begins feeling drowsy, Alexandre takes her away in his car. The next morning, Fanvan wakes up at the beach and takes the chance to go for a swim in just her underwear. Thinking this is a sign Alexandre will not play any more games, she also asks him to rub sunscreen on her back. raising the tension between them. When Alexandra is about to give in and finally kiss Fan Van, they are suddenly interrupted by Laurie, who is trying to be more spontaneous like Alexandra likes it. She brings big news. Preparations for their wedding are finished, and most importantly, she is pregnant. Fan Van is obviously upset and slaps Alexandra while she congratulates the happy couple at the same time before leaving. This upsets Alexandra in return, and Laurie notices this, causing her to make a scene and wish Alexandra would actually cheat on her so things were clearer between them, because she cannot understand what he really wants. A few days later, Fan Van continues to be upset, and this awful mood causes her to fail her exams. Meanwhile, Laurie accidentally asks Alexandra to pick up something for her monthlies at the store and has no choice but to confess she is not really pregnant. It had been a lie she blurted at the beach because she had panicked. Laurie insists this marriage will not work if Alexandra cannot make up his mind, so Alexandra officially cancels the wedding by throwing the invitations in the drain. Afterward, he goes looking for Fan Van and finds her boarding a bus to Italy, thus he chases after it with the intention of talking to her. However, at the next bus stop, he gets afraid and does not board. Sometime later, Alexandra shares his frustrations with T, explaining he wants to live with Fan Van, but does not want the routine that comes with it. When T points out Fan Van will not wait forever and she will be back from her vacation in 10 days, Alexandra gets an idea. He will use those 10 days to buy the apartment next to Fan Van's, decorate it to look like hers, and install a one-way mirror. This way he can look at her and pretend they're living together without actually doing it. The plan works, and when Fan Van returns to Paris, Alexandra gets to enjoy her company daily without her knowing. One day, Fan Van calls him to apologize for the slap and asks him to go out for lunch with her grandparents, accepting to be just friends. When they meet, though, Alexandra is shocked to find Paul is coming with them too because he is now dating Fan Van. Alexandra pretends to be happy for them, but he is clearly jealous, feeling like an awkward third wheel. When Paul goes to the toilet, Alexandra immediately tells Fan Van he has broken up with Laurie, but Fan Van responds it is too late for them. During the lunch with T and Maud, Paul announces he and Fan Van are getting married, souring Alexandra's mood more. Later in the evening, when Alexandra returns to the apartment, he begins packing his things, thinking he has lost his chance with Fan Van, only to stop himself when he sees her argue with Paul on the other side of the mirror. It turns out they are not truly dating. It had all been a plan of Fan Van's to make Alexandra jealous, and even Maud was playing along. Paul does want to get together with Fan Van, but she turns him down, making him wonder why she keeps thinking about Alexandra when he has behaved like a twat. Fan Van confesses she used to think badly of Alexandra too until she learned he has been helping her with her rent, proving he has a good heart underneath. Meanwhile, T tells Maud about Alexandra's one-way mirror, making her promise she will not tell Fan Van about it. Maud does not keep her word though, and the next day, Fan Van returns to her apartment knowing who is on the other side of the mirror and demanding an explanation. Talking loud enough to be heard through the mirror, Alexandra tells Fan Van about him chasing the bus and some bad childhood memories regarding his own mother, who would have a different man in her room every night. He grew up thinking love would always turn sour, prompting Fan Van to explain that will never be the case with her. She kisses the mirror and even puts her body against it, telling Alexandra how much she needs him, but when Alexandra only responds by touching the mirror too, Fan Van reminds him it is not enough. She is tired of games, so Alexandra has until 10 p.m. to come to her apartment or he will never see her again. Now knowing what to do, Alexandra goes to a bar to gather his thoughts and misses the deadline. When he returns to the apartment, he finds Fan Van is gone and only left a letter behind, saying she will reunite with her sister. Desperate to make things right, Alexandra calls Maud to ask about this sister and learns she has been dead for years after she ended things at the river. Assuming Fan Van's going to do the same, Alexandra breaks down in tears as he remembers their time together and realizes he would actually not mind being married to Fan Van after all. His grieving is suddenly interrupted by a weird noise coming from his apartment. It is Fan Van breaking the mirror and the metaphorical wall between them. The pair finally embrace and kiss as Fan Van explains she will add a new deadline, and now Alexandra has until 10 a.m. to win her back, which Alexandra proceeds to do with great fervor.